Hi, I'm Joe from Build My Idea, and today we're going to talk about seizing the opportunity when building new ventures, the keys to success, and some of the lessons that we've learned. And the way I want to do this is through telling you the origin story of Build My Idea, where we started, and how we're able to kind of seize opportunities along the way to make bigger and bigger things happen. And everyone can do this. You just need to understand how we're, how to do that. Our origin story started in a parking lot. And when I was talking to Ali in a parking lot, we had the original vision of what we called the business incubator. We're actually running a leadership program through the social enterprise that I founded, Community Visions Unlimited. We're running a Saturday leadership program, and we were talking about this idea of a business incubator where we could build individual businesses, and we started to do that in the Saturday program, but we wanted to establish something bigger, something that where people could come during the week. And yeah, if you could just recall some of the conversation that we're having in the parking lot, and then we'll take it from there.
My name is Ali. I used to run a gutter cleaning business before I met Joe, but we met around August 2023, and first interaction was he was my martial arts coach, and there was I think one of those days, either Thursday or Friday, I heard Abdi talking about leadership programs. I was very intrigued. I went to him, talked about it, and then we got started with the leadership program on Saturdays. And then weeks go by, and then one day in a parking lot, he presented the idea of starting a digital marketing agency. And then we've already been talking about, what is it called? An incubator to help young people with their businesses and ventures. And yeah, I think that's where all it started. And then one day we decided to make a start in your study, in one of the rooms in your house.
So I'll tell the story about that. So basically what had happened is we were kind of breaking towards the end of the year, and it was coming towards the end of the year, and I was kind of looking forward to a bit of a break to go down to a country property and live a little bit on the land and that sort of thing. But yeah, what I'd sort of detected from Ali was this real yearning to want to get started. And it was really strong. He really, really wanted to get started on this project, and he didn't really have the knowledge or the expertise yet to kind of launch the business, but he really wanted to do it. So it sort of sat with me, when I was reflecting, the idea of this kid waiting. I thought of him as a kid, and still do in a sense, waiting for 2 weeks to start something. And I thought, if we do that, if I go away, there's nothing wrong with taking a trip. It was really good. You live off the land, you learn, you grow, you reflect, all that sort of stuff. But there was something about this yearning that wanted to get started that made me realize that it was actually better to do that. And the story was, I'd packed for the trip. I was going on Boxing Day, basically on Christmas Day Eve. I kind of had this realization, or came to the realization after reflecting on it for a time, that it was cancel the trip, cancel everything, convert the study into the incubator, and get started on Boxing Day. So that's what we did. Boxing Day 2023. Boxing Day 2023, we got started, and I called him and I said, look, come to the house. We get started. We're starting the study. Called Abdi, and yeah, like, what was your reaction when you first got the call to start this?
It was something that I think we've been working on it. So just to go a few steps back, I did photography at TAFE. I've always wanted to go into film, but I hadn't really gone down that path because, one, I realized it was a bit costly, and two, I wasn't really sure how to get started. And the photography was something that enabled me to venture that path without it being very costly. So yeah, I started with the photography, and then before I even got to that, it was something that came to me to start something small where I could go and promote myself as a photographer to people to get extra money. I was working at that time, and I remember Joe and I going for a walk, and we went bushland walk, and we were talking about it, and then the idea of having an incubator and starting a business fully, that came to mind. And I think over the few weeks after that walk, we kind of started to establish a bit of that. So we were at the leadership program at the mosque, and we were communicating, and Ali was there. And yeah, we had sat down, and eventually, this was already established. We had established a photography business. Then the call came in after a couple of months to start the incubator program, and to do it at the study, and I think that was the next step to grow something that I didn't really start with, but I think I needed to start. So this was like the leap of faith, when you see something, that you resonate with, you take the opportunity and you see where it leads. And if I hadn't picked up the call, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had all the experiences that came with it, and I wouldn't have grown so much in the business, but also myself, who I am today. So yeah, I think that was the starting point of Hilola Media. And yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, so I just want to sort of turn to Tama, and we haven't really sort of introduced him, but I'll do that now. So Tama came to the incubator in late 2024, and he that sort of story, I hadn't seen Tama for a little while before that, and someone had told me, "Oh, Tama misses you, no." So I thought I'd reach out, and Tama, I've known Tama for a very long time, as you'll probably explain. But just that sign to kind of reach out and say, "Oh, do you want to go for a bushwalk?" And then I remember, every Christmas you would come over and give me a Christmas present, I think. But I wouldn't see him much, maybe a couple of times throughout the year, and we started walking. We'd do one walk, and then 6 months later we might do another one, and all through those walks I was kind of having that conversation with him about where's life going, what are you doing, kind of telling him about what we were doing, but we weren't really that well established. So before we had this facility, we were at a local mosque, Mirabaka Mosque, which was really opened their doors to us and allowed us to kind of establish some programs, including a martial arts program and a leadership program. We kind of our roots were established there as a community organization. And then, having these conversations. And then when we got the incubator, then I invited him out here for a chat. And you take it away.
First, it was the martial art program.
Yeah.
Then it was the Saturday program. Originally, Joe and I discussed about trying to get a job. Trying to get a job. And then that eventually led to like our one evening in the martial art program. We talked about trading. Yeah. And so we started that. It went for like a few months. I remember just sitting in there looking at charts. And Joe was like very strict, saying, you have to dress the part. I remember that too.
Yeah.
And I could be coming in suits and, dress pants. But then eventually, out of nowhere, Joe came and was like, "Oh, Emerson wants to talk to you about something."
So Emerson is the other name that we call Ali, and that's another story. It's another actually from the origin story. We'll tell that in time.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
But yeah, and then eventually Emerson said that he has a potential client for me, and we might be able to switch direction from trading to sort of like logo design, branding, and stuff. And when Joe first presented that to me, like I was stressed out. I was like, Joe, this is out of nowhere, doing completely 360. And but eventually, but I seized that opportunity. I guess Joe managed to convince me with his loving words.
Complete opposite.
Loving words,
Loving words.
Just to give the backstory for that, the client he's talking about, I made a website for this client, I think at the early 2024, around that time. And then he came back to me months later with a message saying, could you do web design? And I had two choices, either Tama or someone else that I knew who also was into graphic design. And Joe was like, no, give it to Tama. He has to take on this opportunity. And he created a business overnight.
Yeah, we
Whole
did it.
website, business name, everything.
We did a business in a day. So that
Yeah.
was great. So he was newly branded Titanium Business Solutions.
That was my very first project. That was very like first client, I would like to say. And I was like stressed out. I'm not sure if Ali remember, but I was taking out once when I was taking on the project, I'll come in and then I was supposed to have a meeting like at a time, and I was stressed out and I was told Ali, oh, I'm gonna take a nap before I have a meeting.
That was your first business meeting,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
for the very first
Yeah.
business meeting. Yeah. But eventually, it didn't went through, but I learned a lot from it, from seizing the opportunity, and then I became a little more confident as things go on. So yeah, it was a good experience. It was a good experience.